You're cleaning, or the vent itself?
Boy, like, yeah, a whole new world.
Good evening. Welcome to the February 17th Select Board meeting. This meeting will be broadcast live and recorded on Foxboro Cable Access. Start with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there anybody here for citizens input? Anybody online? Okay. Second one is 119 Moore Street regulatory agreement. Going to move no action on that as the parties aren't ready yet. So is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. So we'll be a little bit early, but let's start with the health insurance review.
Sure, while they come up, I'll just kick this off. We, as you know, last year we did a lot of negotiating with unions, and one of the highlights of last year's negotiations, and really the whole fiscal year for a lot of us, was the cost of insurance, particularly health insurance. At that time, our rate went up 14.35%. We learned, we hoped it was a blip, but we weren't sure, and we wanted to make sure that we had not gone out to market for quite some time. So we wanted to make sure that we were doing our due diligence. When Mike Mullen came along, we retained the Hill Group, and they are working with us to evaluate our options when it comes to health insurance. We've had a couple meetings with the IACs, the insurance advisory committees, just trying to keep the employees to know that we are working hard on this. We don't know what will come out of this process. We don't have the answers yet, but we are taking it very seriously, and we are looking at the market. And I think with that, I'll turn it over to Mike and Danielle and Mariana to present.
Mariana, Danielle, show is yours.
Oh, thank you. Would you mind going to the next slide, Michael? Thank you. Well, hello, my name is Danielle Chaplik, and I am a practice leader for the public sector at Hill Group.
My name is Mariana Gill. I'm a senior consultant with the Hill Group.
And we feel very fortunate to be working with the town and helping you navigate through the options. Right now, as I think we all know, health insurance has been a very significant line item for communities across the Commonwealth. And there are people, thinking about different options, different innovations, and so forth. So the purpose of today is really to talk about what is going on in the market, and then to give an overview of what we know so far about the town and what our plan forward is to be assessing the marketplace. So on the first slide, I think all of you might have received the presentation. We wanted to start by talking about what's going on within Massachusetts, because there are certainly several dynamics that are driving up costs. The first really being the competition and the level of insurer consolidation that has happened over the last few years. We've seen Harvard and Tufts come together and so forth, and that has really limited competition within the municipal market. We have certainly, as a firm, tried our best to bring in different opportunities from national carriers like the Cignas, Unitas, and Aetnas of the world, but the reality is that they're still not as competitive in the marketplace, and hopefully, perhaps that might change going forward. There have also, particularly in the last year or two, been changes to mass health reimbursements, which have also driven up costs on the private commercial sector side. We've seen many hospitals in the Commonwealth struggling since COVID, particularly, and we've seen overhead administrative costs increase with also workforce shortages, as well. And then also a number of mergers and acquisitions when it comes to hospital systems and smaller systems being eaten up by the larger ones. And that is always evolving and changing and also causing rates to increase and making it more difficult for insurers to negotiate prices. Michael, next slide, please. And then here we really want to talk about what's going on in the healthcare market and really talk through some key dynamics which are also driving up costs. The costs associated with chronic diseases are certainly prevalent. We've seen an aging population also drive up costs, particularly when it comes to long-term care. You know, the delivery of care in itself is also increasing at a rapid pace due to technologies and more administrative and overhead costs as well. So those are some of sort of the key factors within the healthcare purview. And then Michael, if you don't mind going to the next slide. And then of course, pharmacy has been a significant piece of the puzzle as well. You know, when it comes to chronic diseases, see rising costs in prescriptions, particularly among specialty drugs and biosimilars. We've seen a multitude of new therapies emerging, which is a great thing. Also with that, driving up costs. And then of course, most recently in the last year, we've seen the prevalence of GLP-1 medications, of which most employers either have or are going to be eliminating those off the formulary when it comes to weight loss, but those have had an unprecedented impact on costs. And we anticipate more like GLP-1 medications will also emerge as these therapies evolve. So with that, I will turn it over to my colleague.
So to quickly recap what Foxborough is doing today for health insurance in terms of the structure, today you are part of the Massachusetts Interlocal Insurance Association, short MIA. That means Foxborough is part of a broader municipal pool which helps stabilize premiums from year to year. Today, there are 4 non-Medicare plans that are being offered. One was new for this past I should say September 1st, the high deductible health plan, and then also 2 Medicare options for your retirees that are post 65. What's important to emphasize is really the nature of the risk pooling that's happening here. So even in low claim years for Foxborough specifically, Foxborough may see still a rate increase that's a little bit above, and that's because my association, they look at both the individual risk and the pool as a whole when they are looking at the increases for the following year. And what that does is really help to absorb any volatility in the group, but you are protected where there is a maximum that you could be faced in any given year. And that's really, I think, essential to understand as we talk about cost containment strategies. Next slide. Revenue limits and cost pressures. Foxborough, like any other Massachusetts municipality, must adopt a balanced budget every year. Deficits are not allowed. And that constraint comes as a major driver with how the town must manage its rising health insurance costs. One of the challenges is Prop 2.5. That's really the only avenue to increase the budget and really stimulate new growth, but that comes at a cost as well, and that's not something that's simple to pass through. So given that health insurance is the second largest line item after payroll, we really have to be cognizant about these fixed costs, given that they are rising faster than other allowable revenue growth. So in order to do that, there's just a few things that are listed on here, but we really wanted to make sure that this was a collaborative effort. Again, that means coming together with the employees, with management, with the IAC, continuing to educate what is available and what levers there are to pool. Really, if health insurance costs remain unchecked, it directly threatens the town's ability to maintain staffing levels, to support new positions, to support, a competitive wage increase, and really recruit the best talent that you can. So we really are cognizant as we work through a strategic plan for the upcoming renewal. The other piece that we wanted to make sure to capture for you today is showing you what the healthcare spend has been over the last 3 years. So while the town spend has increased approximately 8% over the past 3 years, health insurance has increased by roughly 20%, growing from $9 million in FY24 to a proposed $10.8 for this current fiscal year. And that's quite a staggering number, but you're not an anomaly in that. Those statistics are quite common. Because of this disparity, though, health insurance now makes up more than 10% of the total town spending, up from a bit over 9% just 2 years ago. And that's that's hard to hear, but we want to make sure that that information is captured and relayed to you today so that we understand why there are such significant pressures as we move forward. We also wanted to showcase how Foxborough compares to other groups, including the Maya as a whole with their highs and lows, the GIC, which is the Group Insurance Commission, another joint purchasing group, Southeastern Massachusetts Health Group, and in general industry, medical, and pharmacy trends. Over the 5-year review that we have listed here, Foxborough's renewals have fluctuated, but generally have aligned with the broader market pressures. And while medical and pharmacy trends have risen, as Danielle had alluded, it really is kind of starting to level out a little bit, and we are starting to see a little bit of, hope at the end of the tunnel. But this long-term pattern of these highs going and some volatility and a lot of uncertainty really underscores that Foxborough is not unique to this situation. What you're facing, I think we're all reading in the news, the dynamics that continue to impact the budget. We do have for FY27, Maya has released their band already. The average is 8.3. At this time, Foxborough has not been provided its renewal, given that it is a 9-1 plan year, so a lot more information still to come. And then what are we doing going forward? There's a lot of action steps that we can pull, and we've engaged quite a bit. So we do want to make sure we engage the market. So we did release an RFI, a request for information, last week to all the local and national carriers that are in the area. So that includes Harvard Pilgrim, Blue Cross on a direct basis, Cigna, Aetna, and United. So we are, in the coming weeks, we'll get those results and we'll look at what that means, evaluating it both from a fully insured, a self-insured. We're also evaluating other regional joint purchasing groups outside of Maya, such as Southeastern Massachusetts Health Group, seeing what there comes in and really trying to identify what would be the most competitive, whether it is to stay with Maya or to explore other opportunities for the upcoming renewal. In addition, we are looking at a number of other opportunities, such as an opt-out program for current employees if they are able to get insurance elsewhere, either through a spouse or if they are child dependent through a parent, again, reducing that budget. The big thing is educating. Right now, being a part of Maya, they offer a wide array of population health programs, whether it's for diabetes, multiskeletal, an EAP program, the list goes on and on. So we want to make sure that members continue to be educated. So Maya was here just a few weeks ago with the IAC and did offer up to make sure that they're in communication with the departments and the unions in promoting all these programs, because there is quite a bit. And then it's also understanding how health insurance works and making people empowered to be consumers. So whether it's standalone facilities that you can go to for scans versus the hospital base, that there's telemedicine available, and the list certainly goes on and on. And then the final piece is we really want to make sure to continue to promote the high deductible health plan that was introduced this past fiscal year. And that really provides an opportunity not only for potentially lower premium for employees, but also gives them a vehicle to save dollars through the health savings account that Foxborough is very generously subsidizing. So I know that was a lot. I know we just have a short period, but we did want to open up if you have any questions or comments.
Well, I have one comment. It's funny because I knew even before I sat on this board, my husband worked for the town, so I knew that we were on a usage which would drive, but so I had a primary care for 30 plus years, and he retired. I had to get another primary, so I go in. And so it's my yearly, the physical. There's supposed to be no co-payment for, and with our plan. So I go in, spend 20, 25 minutes in there. I see my bill online, and there was no co-pay for the physical, but they charged me for a physical and an office visit together. And so I called because I thought it was a mistake, and she said, well, I'm looking, she said, I'll look into it and call you back. She said, well, I'm looking at the notes, and the fact that I asked a question about my health allowed them to double bill. And the first thing I thought of, that's why this is happening, because the providers, so rather than, it was almost he spent 25 minutes with me, the bill was over $800. $400 for a physical and $400 for an office visit. And I'm like, isn't that when you're supposed to ask questions during your physical of anything? And it immediately, I think we had met with Mike shortly before that, and the first thing I thought of is, this is why this is happening. Because it can't be just me. People are going in and what they're charging, and then that's, then Blue Cross, obviously, they have to pick it up. And her answer to me was, well, don't worry about it. You're not paying for it. And I said, believe it or not, everybody's paying for it, because this is why the system is broken. So I just thought it was kind of interesting that why every year we're going up, and that's never happened to me before. So I don't know if this is something new, trending, and how people are getting billed out, but if that's what's going to continue, I don't know how we go back from this, ever, because it's just, it's amazing. For 25 minutes, we were, well, not me per se, I paid $20, but Blue Cross was billed $800 for 25 minutes in the doctor's office. So until that gets fixed, I don't know how we go back to what's happening here. So just a comment as an experience and understanding why this is happening.
Doc, you have anything?
No, I'm all set.
Obviously, we've all had issues with insurances, but I think doing the study we're doing and seeing what's available, obviously we probably wouldn't jump ship for pennies, but we would definitely jump ship for something that's economically more feasible for the town and for the employees, because the employees still are paying a portion of this. It's a 70-30 plan, so 30% of any increased cost is going to them as well. So I think, Mike, I appreciate the fact that you've instituted this and we're trying to move forward. Like I said, the worst case is we find out that we are where we are. Best case is we find something that can help us manage this a little bit better moving forward. So again, I appreciate the information that you're bringing forward, and I look forward to kind of some of the results of the study as you're doing it. Amy or Deb, do you have anything?
I'm good.
Just as someone who, I've been on Medicare now for 2 years, I still haven't figured it out. So as you share more knowledge with us, and perhaps plans change, be it prescription or any other kind of coverage, I would certainly look forward to learning about it and watch as this progress goes forward.
Like just along those lines, like the education, that component that we've been doing through the IC in all of our employee groups as well, like we would expect that to continue and carry through to our retirees as well. We do have, when it comes to our insurance and our benefits, we do have we've experienced that there's a little bit of an information deficit. So through the IAC, like in different other opportunities that we've been pursuing, really trying to ground that information home with everybody. So we're we're all jumping out with this whole the whole discussion here on the same page. So that's been a huge priority.
Yeah, we're actually working on
How
a
many
bet.
municipalities stay with Maya?
It's
Are with
150.
Maya?
So that, can you ask your question one more time?
How many of the municipalities in the state are with Maya?
It's like 150, I want to say.
150 or so.
Oh, so roughly half.
Roughly that.
So there are other options, so there are some other options.
Yeah.
We just have
Communities
to-
are with other regional joint purchasing groups. Some are on their own, whether in a fully insured or self-insured environment. Others are with the state through the Group Insurance Commission. And I did just want to comment, is the other thing that we're working on is a benefits guide, both for the active employees and the retirees. So again, lots more information.
Oh, well, part of not knowing is my own fault. It's not that it's not, the information isn't out there.
Sometimes
I
too much
appreciate that.
information, it does, too much is also not effective either. If it's not in a format that's easy to digest, there's a lot of acronyms in this health insurance world and a lot of things to navigate. So we are working on that. So more to come on that front as well to help support both the active employees and the retirees.
And can I say one other thing? And thank you so much to Mike, because just since he's been there, he's come up with a little bit of a, not, I shouldn't say different plan, but another way for some employees that don't have to, in the past, haven't had to utilize as much of the insurance benefit. So you've come up with at least a little something for people to, even though it's still with Maya and still, but a different, with the different deductibles and stuff. So that's greatly appreciated.
And it's really been,
Yeah.
I mean, like a team effort, like with Paige, like with finance as well. Like we can't just, yeah, like we can't like address this whole challenge in a bubble. You know, like we need to like involve our whole team. We need to involve the school department as well. You know, they're more than half to 60% of our health insurance as well. And yeah, like it's a real partnership approach. We need to, you know, to hit this head on and to work together. So, thank you.
Thanks for all the efforts.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
Look
you,
forward to
everybody.
it. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to town manager recommended balanced budget presentation.
Yeah, so I'll just kick it off while the slideshow's getting ready. So, good evening, switching gears from health insurance to budgets, which is quite a night tonight. So on February 2nd, I submitted a balanced budget for fiscal year 2027 for the board and public's consideration. It was drawn up after months of collaboration, primarily from this A-team here, our finance team, but really with all the departments and the policy boards as we all work together to come up with a goal of maintaining a level service budget with a target of around 3%. And most town departments did work hard to stay close to that benchmark of 3%-ish. But the overall budget, including enterprise funds, reflects a 4.37% increase, which is basically 4.47 million. The general fund reflects a 4.2% increase, or 3.9 million. And the primary drivers of this increase are education and fixed costs, which together account for more than 81% of the total general fund budget increase. The school department has a budget increase of 3.68%, and that's driven by contractual obligations, special education, transportation, and student needs. Debt service actually reflects a decrease of 1.9%, or $79,051, and that's due to debt runoff. And then fixed costs, including pension, health insurance, property and liability insurance, those all increased by 7.68%, or 1.57 million. In order to reach our balanced budget, I had to cut $846,569 in a town side reductions and reallocations after everything was submitted. I had to say no to several new general fund positions, including a new mechanic, an IT support specialist, stormwater funding, and other requests. We had to moderate our health insurance adjustments or assumptions based on updated projections, and we were able to shift some costs around. Importantly, we were also able to continue reducing our reliance on free cash by $100,000, and that's been a continuation of our commitment to limiting one-time revenues for recurring expenses. So the free cash and overlay surplus are being directed primarily towards the non-excluded debt service for the town hall and the Burrell School. On the revenue side, projections include the 2.5% levy increase, $850,000 in new growth, updated local receipts that reflect concerts and economic activity, modest increases in state aid based on the governor's proposal, and adjustment to several indirect cost allocations. We do have a few questions remaining that are preliminary, including the final state aid, health insurance, property and liability insurance, and school assessments. And we expect to bring those numbers forward in about March so that we can finalize the budget. With all that fun stuff, I will turn it over to Marie, who will actually give you all the details on what I just said. There'll be a quiz after.
So good evening, and thank you, Paige, for that introduction. So this presentation will essentially provide a picture of where we stand today in fiscal year 26, and showing a high-level look at the proposed budget. So this slide here just shows you where our revenues currently stand. So property taxes are currently at 74.1% collected. Local receipts are 0.3%. State aid at 57.8% for a total general fund collections of 71.2%. Now, these local receipts are a little lower than they were at this time or at the end of January of last year. This is largely timing related. For example, the payment for the football season should have come in at the end of January. We just received that this week. If we had received that at the end of January, we would actually be 1.1 million higher than last year. So just timing related, the revenues remain stable, property tax and state aid. And then on the local receipt side, motor vehicle, so the largest commitment, which is commitment number 1, is due to go out, I believe, in the next week or so. That's a $2.9 million commitment, which will be collected in March and April. On the expenditure side, so overall, we're 56.6% expended. If you assume that there was equal monthly spending, would be at 58%. We're just below that. Some of our expenditures are time sensitive, so debt service, insurance payments, the pension. Some of those happen right at the beginning of the fiscal year. Others happen later on, or as you progress. For example, like with our audit, we pay those as they're going through that audit process. And then obviously you have monthly and annual service payments. And we are also planning on, just as we've done the last 2 years, on wiping out the snow and ice deficit using a budget surplus. So this slide here shows you a summary of the budget overall. So this page stated the general fund budget is showing a 4.2% increase. The water enterprise is showing a 7.52% increase. The sewer fund has a slight increase of 0.64%, and the total overall operating budget is showing an increase of 4.37%. As Paige also stated, this budget is balanced and it maintains level services. This slide here just shows you a history of the operating budgets going back to fiscal year 18. The numbers you see at the bottom, those percentages are the compounded annual growth rate. And as you can see, for the FY27 budget, the increase on the municipal side was 3.44%, and on the school side, or education, it was 3.57%. Slightly less than the 3.68% for Foxborough Public Schools due to a decrease in the Southeastern Regional School District assessment. This pie chart here shows you just a breakdown of the revenues. So the levy is the largest piece of the pie at 69.3%, followed by local receipts at 13.2%, and state aid at 12.7%. When looking at the surrounding communities, the average, excluding Foxborough, it's 70% for the tax levy, 14.5% for state aid, and local receipts are at about 8,000. That's the average. So Foxborough relies less on the levy and more on local receipts compared to some of the surrounding communities. Obviously, because we have the stadium and the revenues that come along with that. On the expenditure side, so this piece of the pie just shows you operating budgets. So the largest piece of the pie here is education at 47.7%, followed by insurance and other at 22.8%, which includes fixed costs and benefits for both town and school departments. And then the next largest piece of the pie is public safety at 13.8%. Here's an overview of the water budget. The reason, if we were to look at the budget book, the revenue numbers are higher than the expense side because you have to include the revenue to cover the indirect costs. So there's the water fund has indirect costs totaling $1,332,785. The other factor here is so the FY27 water budget includes year one of the SRF loan repayment. So the loan that we received for the Chestnut Street PFAS plant is reflected in these numbers as well. On the sewer side, same thing. The revenue for the indirect costs is included in here. For the sewer fund, that amount is $231,169. Here is the proposed budget broken out by function. You'll see that the top table there is general fund only. The bottom one includes the enterprise funds. As I stated earlier, the largest increases there, percentage-wise, are the insurance and other category and the education category. General government includes, it's all town departments except schools. So I need all the way from select board all the way through DPW. Let's see here. These tables here show you, so broken out even further so that municipal was broken out by individual category. So you could see the percentage increases by function. Then on the right side, you have the enterprise funds. This is just another few tables here just showing you that the table on the left is showing you the budget increases as the percentage of the overall increase. So the two largest increases there were under education and insurance and other. The table to the right shows you the budget totals as a percentage of the overall budget. Once again, education and insurance and other are your largest budgets. This, so when looking at the budget, we believe we prepared the same slide for the financial summit just to show what the budget looks like when you take not only the operating, but then you allocate the fixed costs to both town and school departments. So when you go through and allocate the debt service and all of the various fixed costs, so we had a total general fund budget of $96,890,302. $36.8 million of that is for the town side, and $60,019,000 is for the school side. So it's essentially a 38-62 split. This is just showing you that same information, just the percentages. So as we get into just a summary of the budget, so general government, that budget category includes anything from select board all the way through municipal, the municipal buildings budget. This function had increases driven by utilities, building maintenance, janitorial services, software, and overall just higher operating costs for an overall increase of 3.6%. Under the public safety, we had SEMREC, which came in at $50,000 higher than last year. The cost to replace cruisers has also gone up. We have some software and camera maintenance that was needed. We did shift some of the salary portion for under fire for the outside repair operation over to their new revolving fund. So that was able to provide some relief to the operating budget. The FY27 budget also includes the match that's required for the SAFER grant, so the grant that you guys approved, which will allow them to hire 5 new firefighters. There is a 25% match, which has to be paid by the town. So that is factored into the fire budget. Both police and fire also reflect year 2 of the collective bargaining agreements. Overall, there's an increase of 2.91%. Under education, public schools is showing an increase of 3.68% due to collective bargaining, special education, transportation, out-of-district costs. The Southeastern Regional Assessment, as I mentioned, is decreasing by 1.53%. We should have that final number for that school and the Aggie school sometime in early March. For now, we're just using an average for the Aggie school, which is 11%, but I expect that number to come down. The next category is the public works. Once again, just overall increase is driven by operating costs. There's some overtime needs. An additional $31,000 was needed for the solid waste contract. We will be now in year 2 of that in fiscal year 27. They also did request a mechanic to service the school buses, but unfortunately we were not able to fit that request into this budget. What Paige did instead is she added $15,000 to the DPW budget to essentially convert their mechanic convert their apprentice into a mechanic. This budget is showing an overall increase of 7.10% or function. Public Works, it's not only DPW, it also includes snow and ice, solid waste, and recycling. Human Services, there's an increase here due to, once again, collective bargaining agreements. There is some savings from lower ordinary benefits of veterans benefits. And the health department budget shows a decrease due to the Public Health Excellent Grant cost recovery. So the way that grant works is at the end of the fiscal year, you're able to allocate 15% of your administrative costs to the grant. So essentially we bill the health department for 15% of what they spend out of that grant. And then in the fall, there's a transfer from free cash for that same amount into the fire budget. What then happens when you're building next year's budget is you reduce that line down to zero. So there is a decrease shown in this budget. Library, overall increase of 3.41%. There are minimum state spending requirements. They had higher material costs. They did request funding for a new programming line for $5,000. Historically, they've used state aid or Friends of the Library, funds to cover those. And then they also requested an additional $2,000 for a technology replacement. Debt service is decreasing. This budget now includes the final payments for the DPW facility, the community center, and the police locker room. On the insurance and other side, pension is increasing by 2.17%. That's a number that we get from the county. We really have no control over that. Then you have the OPEB. There is one change here. So the town has, for years now, contributed $1,064,069 towards the OPEB liability. What we learned during the last actuarial study is that the water and the sewer OPEB liability is fully funded. What we felt we should do is to maintain that $1,064,000 is that money will not fully come from the general fund versus about $64,000 of it would have come from the enterprise funds. The property and liability is estimated to decrease. That's another number. So the health and the property and liability insurance numbers, the final numbers will be known in early March as well. On the enterprise fund side, overall increase of 6.08%. The water, as I stated earlier, is due to, so they have with the new PFAS plant, there's obviously operational costs, but it's largely due to that first loan payment, which is $437,000 in year one. And then when you have these SRF loans, there's a one-time loan origination fee, but then each year after that, there's an admin fee that you have to pay. So that's largely the reason for that increase here. And then on the sewer side, small increase there. There is a decrease in the MFN regional sewer assessment due to changes in the water flow proportions. And as do all the other budgets, the enterprise funds also include year 2 of the collective bargaining agreements. So the cuts made to the budget to balance it. So Paige covered this in her introduction. This is just the details showing where that number came from.
And again, those cuts are cuts for increased requests, effectively.
Right.
Yes. This here is just visual, just showing you the operating budget history. So this is the overall budget. So when you factor in your revenues, so including the enterprise fund, we're projecting a $3.688 million increase on the revenue side. And then on the expense side, not only do you have to account for the expense budgets, but you also have to take into account the state aid assessments that you have to pay out. Snow and ice, if we were to raise the deficit versus wiping it out with budget surplus, plus the overlay number here. So each year when we're setting the budget, we have to set amount for the overlay, which is used to cover any abatements and exemptions. And we end up putting more into that account because we do use $750 of it towards the operating budget. So on the expense side, total of $3,704,233. So right now we have a surplus of $8,800. Tax levy, this is just showing you the history for the last 3 years, including the current budget. Here are the actual numbers. So as Paige mentioned, we're showing the Prop 2.5 increase, which is $1,609,000. New growth right now is projected at $850,000. And then the debt exclusions now reflect those the projects that were approved last year. So the total tax levy is $69,510,328, or a 3.63% increase. State aid, this is just showing you just some historical data. Here are the numbers. So state aid, well, remaining conservative here, we're showing a net 1.21% increase. The only two areas that we are touching are Chapter 70 and unrestricted government aid. Those are being increased by 1%, but then any adjustments that you make on the assessment side net the entire increase out. The average increase for state aid has been just below 2%, so I mean this hasn't really been a reliable funding source for us. And out of the 11 comparable communities, only three receive less state aid than us, and those are Plainville, Rentham, and Norfolk. So I mean we don't receive a ton of state aid. Local receipts, just showing you a history. Prior to COVID, our average was 11.7 million. Fiscal year 21 through 26 or 25 are actual collections. The 26 number there is the current budget, and the 27 is the proposed budget. So here are the actual numbers. I apologize, numbers are very small. But on the local receipt side, we're showing a 7.67% increase. Our 5-year average is 13.4 million, so we're projecting 13,206,000, so we're still below that average. We did make adjustments for the pilot, so we're now factoring in 10 concerts in addition to a full football and a full soccer season. The adjustment also includes an additional pilot for the Walnut Street property. We also have factored in increases to departmental fees, motor vehicle, hotel, motel, and meals tax, as well as a slight increase in investment income. Anything that comes in beyond what we use for the budget is earmarked for capital and reserves, as we've done in the past. So available funds, so these are overlay surplus, free cash, ambulance, recreation. So there's a slight decrease here. For this budget, as Paige stated, we're using $100,000 less in free cash than we did in the FY26 budget. We're maintaining the $750 from overlay surplus, and then just showing a slight increase to the ambulance fund and the rec revolving. At the bottom there, we're just showing you our stabilization fund, so the current balances in those funds. And as what we've been doing with these two funds is your general stabilization is essentially your rainy day fund. So as your budget is increasing, you should throw more money into that fund. And the capital stabilization fund, we've been growing that fund in anticipation of the Taylor School project. So on the indirect cost side, so this is the money that the enterprise funds have to reimburse to the general fund. So there's a 12.2% increase here. It's largely due to salary increases, but also increases on the benefit side and the pension allocation per the county. So other budget items to consider. So as Paige stated, that there were several new positions that were requested that were not included in her recommended budget. There was an additional $150,000 requested for stormwater management. This was to tackle the catch basin cleaning and other permanent requirements. So that line was maintained at the $100,000 that they have today. Continued budget drivers compared to last year include the school budget and fixed costs. Future items to keep in mind, continuing to reduce the reliance on free cash, if possible. Looking for opportunities for additional revenue or new growth, that's critical. I think, looking, 5 years out, I think we'll be fine for, say, another year or two, but then we'll start to get into some trouble, and that's where I think we'll need to have, override discussions. But hopefully, I was telling Paige earlier that the universe is listening to me. I've said new growth so much. I saw that the planning board approved a 32-unit, I believe, what was it, a contractor industrial. So it's residential and industrial along Route 1. So it's 9 new buildings, 32 units. It's new growth. So that projects like that are definitely needed if we want to avoid an override here. The key here, obviously, with this budget was to maintain, level services, and to have the town approve something that's, still sustainable. And then finally here, the Taylor School, as I stated earlier, that project is coming soon, and we are preparing for that. Next steps here, so the advisory committee meetings have started. They started last Wednesday. Those are held on Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. at the Public Safety Building. Those will run through the middle of March. The comprehensive balanced budget, or final budget, will be due Friday, March 27th. The final select board budget recommendations are due Tuesday, March 31st. We'll need to obtain the final numbers for SEMREC. That might end up staying the same at the $650,000, but that's yet to be seen. On the education side, as I stated earlier, the assessments for the two schools there, fixed costs, group insurance, and property and liability. And then finally, just monitoring the state's budget process. So although they're supposed to have a budget approved prior to July 1st, that never happens. We might see one more level of approval before town meeting. But, these numbers, especially on the revenue side, once you have your budget set, the revenue numbers, even what goes to town meeting, can change all the way through the fall when you're setting the tax rate. And then finally, just looking at any, construction and permitting activity to see if we can increase the $850,000 that we're using for new growth. Let's see what else. And one thing I did forget to add on here is on the overlay side, just keeping in mind or keeping track of any potential ATV cases that we have. So that overlay number not only needs to cover your average yearly abatements and exemptions, but if you have any assessment disputes that go to the ATB, you need to make sure that you have enough in that overlay to cover any payouts you may need to do. Any questions?
This is not a reassessment year, is it?
What was it?
It's not a reassessment year, right?
No, 2030 will be the next one.
I reviewed the budget book. Obviously, there's a lot in there, a lot more than this presentation, and I appreciate the ability to kind of shorten it. And I'm sure many people at home who haven't seen the whole book, which is fairly detailed and fairly large. Personally, I'm fairly comfortable with where the budget is at this point. I'm sure I still have a few questions in areas, but I'm not really overly concerned. I think we've made it to a point where, even though it's higher than what I think we originally talked, at 3.5 was our high that we were trying to be, 3% is where we pushed it at. Obviously, we're higher than that. Education, being one of the biggest numbers, is pushing it, and obviously fixed costs really are pushing it too. So, I think good job for all three of you. I appreciate the work, but is there any comments from the board or thoughts?
No, I appreciate the detailed presentation, and I did look through the book, and I had a few questions, but nothing major.
Was it 4.37? Was that the number we came
That's
up?
including the enterprise funds. It's 4.2 without the enterprise funds.
Were you going to say something,
No.
Doc? All right, I always got something to say about the budget. But what I will say is, it is a little higher than I would like to see it, but the fact that you stay, I also understand there's only so much you can do. Everything is going up. Looks like we stayed away from the wants and just stayed with the needs, so, I appreciate the 800,000. I'd like to see us a little leaner, but without this being my expertise, I don't know where else you could cut. So I will give you a good job as well, which you don't always get from me for this. Like, I like to stay lean, but I understand you can only cut what you can cut. So.
And I think the biggest point to that is when you look at the fixed cost, the drivers there, that's not, adding people, that's not buying something that you would, like to add to a thing. It's basically just pulling forward, and we're getting stuck, as we saw with the health insurance side, with fairly, large increases. But even the pensions, both of them have decided their assessments can change on a yearly basis, and they're all going up instead of down. The only good thing we have coming forward, but it won't be for a few more years, is the OPEB. We've made great strides on that, and I agree with the fact that you're leaving the number as where it is. The faster we can hit that, the better off we are. The only question I did have, and I didn't see the breakdown, I'm sure it was in the book, was on, obviously the OPEB is driven by the meals tax. Mm-hmm. And how are we running on that balance that we're using from the meals tax?
So our meals tax, let me just see here. We're using other local receipts to make up the meals tax revenues alone are not enough to cover that OPEB payment. So like let me see here, our meals tax. So last fiscal year, we were at looks like there's a formula error here. Showing 91,000 for meals tax, but in FY24 meals tax receipts were $1.3 million. Prior to fiscal year 27, we were at 985,000 for the general fund contribution, plus another 350 or so for roads and sidewalks. So we're just about that. And in the town report, we actually publish a chart that goes back to the beginning. So when the meals tax was first adopted by the town. And if you look at the trend, we've always spent more than we've actually collected, meaning that other local receipts are supplementing those appropriations.
Maria, I think at one point was the year to be funded, was it around 32? Is that where we still are roughly?
We are at, so the last I had looked, we were around 2034 for OPEB.
They made, wasn't that last year that there was some pretty substantial adjustments made to it? So.
When the town voted to allow surviving spouses to receive the benefit, that added $3 million to the liability and another year to the schedule. But each year, I know I've said that, Brandon's probably sick of me saying this, but I just keep telling people to just wait 5 years or so. Once you have those major liabilities fully funded, we'll be fine. But obviously, as your salaries most of them are contractual. So the only way truly to make cuts is to lay people off, and we really don't want to do that. Fixed costs are fixed costs. You really can't do much there. So, our main thing was, like I said, maintaining staffing, maintaining level services, but putting forward something that is sustainable. And I think that's what we were able to achieve here.
You gotta remember, Chris is gonna come looking for that money for the roads. After we fund the OPEB, he's gonna come looking for that money, which we need that too.
But you are right, as far as fixed costs, though, you are making moves on that. Obviously, having Mike do what he's doing, it is a move that you can make, and it's kind of the only move you can make, is just to make sure that we're not paying more than we need to pay in any one of those given areas. What are the pensions, when do they mature?
The pension, I believe they extended out to 2033. It was 2029 for the longest. Then they shifted it to 2031, but if they had maintained that target date, our assessment was going to increase by $1.1 million. And there were a lot of angry communities that showed up to the county's offices and said, hey, can you please do something here? Because technically, so PARAC has given everyone up until 2040 to fund your pension system. But supposedly, according to the county, they will not approve funding schedules that go out past 2037. So they still have, right now they're at 2033, they still have 4 years of room to adjust that. And we're hoping, they are due for another actuarial study, so we're hoping that, there won't be a huge increase for the 28 budget. But so far, I mean, for 27, the increase was a lot lower than what we were expecting, so we're glad that they were able to work with us and the
We
other.
had to fight hard, though. That wasn't easily given, and I anticipate we'll have to fight the same. Because it's like two towns that don't care, the rest of us are drowning. So
Yeah.
we just have to yell louder.
Well, but I do, what Marie just said, though, as far as 5 years from now, between those pensions and stuff, we're talking millions that we're not overpaying, that we're paying to catch up, in effect, for the pension funds. So that will make a huge difference, and hopefully that's the timing as far as, potentially when we start to get really tight, that could be our saving grace at that point in time. So, great, thank you. Everybody else, good? All right, thank you very much.
Do you want to make a motion?
Yes.
Okay. Motion to approve the presented FY '27 Town Manager Recommended Balance Budget.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, guys. Okay, FIFA World Cup 2026 entertainment license review.
Yeah, so we're just going to have this on the agenda for the next couple weeks, couple months, as we prepare for World Cup. We don't really have a major update right now. We did send over correspondence a week or so ago with a list of issues. We've gotten a few responses back. We're continuing to have daily meetings with everybody. Bill's going to now be collecting a stipend. He's now on staff with us. But we are continuing to work on this effort, and I don't have too much specific to report right now.
Would we like to have them come up in
Sure. Which ones?
2026, I guess?
We have FIFA here, too. We got them
Yep.
all here.
Hey, Jay, I have a question. It's a very simple question. Has an application been presented?
Yes,
Oh, it has.
yes. Hi.
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 Hello.
So I was just explaining that we've had numerous meetings, and we have another meeting scheduled tomorrow. I know our team has another meeting scheduled tomorrow with the state, working through all the logistics, trying to figure out funding and all the other issues that go along with it. I don't know if you all have any update that you want to share at this point, or?
I think, I think that's the summary. We're Boston Soccer 26. We're the host committee that was formed, and now I'm probably saying this again, and I know we've talked about this before, but we're the host committee that was formed once we won the bid. Boston won the bid. The thing that's very different about this is that FIFA US is the applicant on the license, and normally it would be, the stadium. So there are a lot of things to work through, and we recognize that. We are working diligently to coordinate this conversation, and I know that, it's a lot of work. I know, Bill, the amount of time that you spent on this, and Paige, the amount of time you spent on this, the chiefs. So we do appreciate that energy. We're waiting for the federal award, which I think will help us, sort of detail what is, what issues we need to address from an operational point of view. We've got a running issues list that I think we're working through, and it gets shorter every day, I hope. So all in all, I think we're heading in the right direction. So we appreciate the support, and happy to answer any questions.
So,
Any update on the federal funding? I mean, are they shut down right now, or is it, where are we?
So the White House
task force, which is charged with sort of moving this forward, is part of the essential services. Sorry, I just want to double check the terminology. Ryan, is it essential services? So essential services. So they are still operating during the shutdown. It's still a question of how fast FEMA can move through the process. But there's no, I mean, we're being assured that it's, continuing.
So just so that we're all clear on this, basically, we put in an application to mitigate the costs for whoever the party is that's supposed to be picking up the cost for security. It's already passed through the OGR, or whichever, and it's in FEMA's hands.
That's correct.
So the recommendation for who gets what out of that has already been made to FEMA, and we're waiting for them just to basically bless it.
That's correct. OGR has provided that. We cannot see that because it's a grant process that's run by the state.
Okay. I feel I have to ask a question, and I'm hoping that one of you can come up and answer this question. And that is that what's very confusing to us is who is the responsible party for funding. Obviously, the craft group says they're not. A lot of people point to your group, which really doesn't have any funding, so that's, a problem. Is FIFA, who is going to be the licensee, are they in the end responsible if nothing else comes through on this?
So is that.
And therein lies the problem.
So if the question, sorry, and that's a sort of a broad question, and it
That's
deserves
really
some-
not. It's
No.
a very specific question.
Sure.
So let me try to make it simple. Boston 2026, which is a nonprofit entity, which exists solely, as you said, for the partnership on the games side of it, is not the licensee.
That's correct.
Does not have money at this point, other than potentially what comes through the federal grant and hopefully, some state grant money for you. The craft organization has told us that they're technically not responsible for the funding on it. So the only party left leaves Big FIFA. The question is Big FIFA, we say big versus small. Sure. Obviously, we consider you small as FIFA, and they're big.
I appreciate that.
So, is FIFA out of Miami's organization responsible for this funding in the end?
We could address it if you like, Mike. Is that?
If you do, could you please come up?
Sure. If you'd like, I can.
Why don't you go
question
first,
was.
and follow up.
Okay. Sorry. I'll answer first, and then they can respond. So under the hosting agreement, we have a responsibility for public safety in the stadium, as opposed to, for example, the operational elements of the stadium. So, for example, the water department or any of the other costs that would be applied. So I think it's actually a mix of both. Specifically when it comes to public safety, we are contractually obligated to provide it under the host committee's requirement. Now,
We being who? Boston Soccer?
Boston Soccer 26, okay. Correct. Now, of course, I think the question is, how is that then assured? And I accept that, well, we're not Little FIFA, we're actually Boston Soccer, and, the host committee. But then I guess there's an ultimate question, which I think should probably, lie in the conditions of the license, how that's worded, I think, which is, I'm just offering that I think that, that should be run down. But.
I can go up if that's okay.
Please. And just because not everybody knows you, could you just state name and organization?
Yeah. Good evening. My name is Kevin Clark. I'm the Director of Venue Operations for FIFA 26 here in Foxborough with Boston Stadium. In short, just to confirm what Mike has said, FIFA 26 is here to work operationally with the stadium. With respect to the financial agreement, we have to defer to both the stadium and the host city. We are not in a position to comment on the financial requirements. That's an agreement between the stadium and the host city. FIFA 26 is happy to answer any operational questions. I know from the town manager, we've handled those alongside Craft Sports and Entertainment, so we're happy to discuss those, but for tonight, we can just respectfully defer to Boston 26.
So let me ask, if you're responsible for the operational side, so as was just previously stated, things like Board of Health, water and services and stuff like that, that would fall under you.
It would fall with the stadium. So we will work like any other full stadium event with Craft Sports and Entertainment to follow the existing policies, protocols, and regulations there.
I got something to say.
Yeah.
We'll work
So-
on the line.
So, I've been reading a lot online, you know, Facebook, different stuff. I just think it's good for this board to get some of this information out because unless people have really been paying attention to our meetings, they're seeing what's being put on the news, what's being put in our local paper. So here's what I see is that, and in this board, the plenty of people have given this board credit for standing up for the taxpayers in town. Some people are asking questions like, did this board know that World Cup was coming? Like that we're getting down to the wire? And I try not to comment too much, but the little bit I did was like just saying, listen, there's a timeline for everything. So, but here's the problem. And I don't think I'm going to say anything that everybody hasn't already been thinking and knowing, but this board, as well as more even so than this board, our public safety chiefs, our town manager, her office, has been doing cartwheels to get what we need to get done. And so when people are saying, well, how come they don't know? Is this something new that's put in front of us? Like, I think we need to get out there that everybody knows that this board, and more importantly, public safety in our town manager's office, has not just been sitting back and we're not all just like, oh, who's going to pay for this? So our next agenda item, it made me think of this, is to talk about the pedestrian bridge that we brought up last year that the Craft organization had said to us, this would be nice to have for World Cup next year, because we've known for 3.5 years that it's coming. And last minute, our town manager is filling out applications. And the grant, we didn't get the grant last year. They're liking us to try again this year. But we've been doing so much to try to have this event go well. And, I know Bill has gone on given interviews. And I'm going to say, as another board member, we're not prepared to issue this license unless everything is in place. And I've seen people saying, oh, there's no way they won't. I'm going to tell you, this board will not issue this license. So, like, I don't feel like we're getting the answers. Bill and Paige have been involved in many meetings, and we're a month later, we're still, well, who's going to pay? Who, and I'm going to tell you right now, the tag, we cannot issue this license without in writing, or I don't even know if I want to say in writing, maybe bonded money. The money has to be here because we're, everyone think, we have a football stadium in this town. But with that being said, we're a small town. We have 18,000 people, okay? I mean, you guys sat here and watched us look at our budget. This money is, almost 10% of our whole entire budget for our year. So there's no way we can fund it without it, or issue a license without knowing. And listen, talk about the pedestrian bridge. In order for us to apply for that, we had to say that we were going to fund some of the money. And the Craft organization, who we've been working with for years and years, and who we trust, we wouldn't even let them. They were going to have to bond the money that we were going to have to put up. So this is not even, if this is someone that we work with on a daily basis, how does anybody expect that we would do this for someone who's coming into our town for 39 days, making all these demands, and then you guys are going to go away, and then once there is no Boston 26, like someone said to me, well, if it wasn't paid, couldn't you guys just sue? Well, who are we going to sue? You guys are going to be gone. So I know it's been said, and I know Bill and Paige have been privy to the meetings that maybe the whole board, and then we are getting the information given to us, but we're almost there. And I'm not even sure why we haven't had a license in front of us already for us to approve, and I guess, everybody else will have their say here, but for me, it's gonna be a flat no, unless we know the money is there. And we cannot do that to our taxpayers. We would not be responsible, and so I guess, I don't know if this is anything that hasn't been said to you already, but I think you need to know that, how this board feels, and so I felt like I needed to tell you what's been running through my head for like the last month, knowing that we're this close and we still don't even have a license issued, so.
So, and I think I'll address the license side. We have obviously asked our town council to put together the license to be forwarded to FIFA for their review and approval. The license will obviously include the fact that the town has to be made whole on all of these expenses. And obviously FIFA would be required to sign that license. The bigger, the issue that we've always had in this whole thing, and it comes down to sounding like Foxborough is being the bad guys here, but, we really aren't. All we're trying to do is protect our citizens, number one, but number two, the funding, here, we actually did, whoever the responsible party is, the favor of applying for the grant, because the grant doesn't, it's not for us, it's for obviously these services. And then, whatever additional money that doesn't get funded out of that grant has to come from someplace. And that's really all we're asking for, is where is it coming from? And, some of it, unfortunately, as we've been telling both people at the craft organization and, yourselves, is that some of the stuff has to be ordered, now, to make sure that we have everything we need for the security side of things. Again, as has been said, the chiefs have been doing both chiefs have been doing a great job trying to put this together. They're doing everything they can to try to mitigate cost and bring costs down, so that we truly only expend what we need to get this done. But it still leaves us with one issue that we have as a major concern, and that is, even with all the preparation that's been done with Homeland Security and all the area chiefs and stuff like that to build what the program will be, it's obviously an NFL game on steroids, because this is a Tier 1 event. It's the equivalent of 7 Super Bowls here and 39 days of coverage, which is not small and not to be lost. In other words, we have to secure that facility for 39 days straight. And again, I think there's a lot of manpower involved there. So all we're asking for is a collaboration that gets us the answer as to who. And if the only way we're going to get that is to get the license in front of FIFA with that cost on it, that it's going to have to be kicked out, then that's going to be our highest priority to get done, and get to you as quickly as possible. But, again, this is a 3-year process, and we're less than 100 days maybe away from the event starting, and we're not comfortable. It doesn't sound like you guys are comfortable either, which is concerning. Amy or Deb?
It just makes me a little concerned when the question is asked on where the payment is going to come from, and both you guys are almost pointing at each other. Nobody wanted to answer the question, and I think that speaks volumes to the frustration that this board is feeling.
The concern.
And the concern is, who's the third guy that's going to answer? And I feel very strongly that without those answers, this won't go forward.
And again, I want to stress that this community has done everything it can to make sure that we have plans to run a very safe event. Safety, security, for not only the participants and the spectators, but for our town is paramount to us. So, we're not sitting back waiting for these answers. We're doing everything we can. I give the 2 chiefs so much credit for the amount of time that they've had to put in for their job here in town, as well as to build the security program that goes along with the protocols, staying in touch with everybody on the national level as far as what the concerns need to be and how they evolve, which they're evolving daily, depending on what teams are playing where. So again, I don't look at Foxborough like we're sitting back now waiting for answers. We're doing everything we have to, but as has been stated, we've got 4 weeks as far as we're concerned. Without those answers and without us ordering some, needed materials very soon, it will be impossible for us to implement those plans that we've developed.
I gotta be honest with you, it baffles my mind that you guys are sitting here in front of me right now and we still have no idea where this money's coming from. And I know they've both been in meetings ad nauseum, trying to figure this out, and me not being in those meetings, but hearing the rhetoric coming from all different sides. I'm shocked you're not sitting here, right here in front of us right now, saying we got the money for you. I'm shocked, especially after talking to you two guys 2 weeks ago, where you assured us that we're all set. And now you're saying you're not responsible for it, pointing fingers back and forth. And this hasn't been anything we've been waiting. Our chiefs have been working on this for what, 3 years? Minimum of 3 years. And they're just as baffled as we are. They keep getting curveballs every step of the way, and they're on top of it every step of the way. And, you know, when they come in front of us 2 weeks ago and say, you know, we need some money now, and you guys are still looking at us saying, we don't know where it's coming from, and we have townspeople who are saying, there's $2 billion organizations that are running this, the Crafts and FIFA. What's the problem? And now coming around to where we've got to wait on grant money from the federal government, I'm flabbergasted. I'm just pissed.
And for the record, just Doc, because I don't want to go on the record wrong. I will say the Craft organization is working to backstop or fund pre-grant and get reimbursed by the grant. So
I apologize. That's the first time I've heard that.
We are making some inroads in that, but that's only a portion of the money. So
Yeah, but still, it's coming from grant money that's
Right.
some
That has nothing to do-
ambiguous amount of money that everybody's going to be grabbing for, from Mayor Wu to Governor Healy. And, I'm sorry, guys, we got 4 weeks, but this should have been done today. I mean, those chiefs need to write checks that, we can't cash.
And one other thing that, just so everybody is aware of, because even the people in town, like, they know when we have an event at the stadium, there's a process. The chiefs get the policemen, the security, everyone who does an event up there, who works up there for security purposes, is paid by the town of Foxborough, and then we get reimbursed by the Crafts. It's all this is all done in like a pay period, and there is no way. I've talked to a couple of police officers that I see up at the stadium. They expect to be paid just like when they do a detail for any event at the stadium. There's no, like, we're spread over 7 weeks. Within that 2-week pay period, they need to be paid. So that's also the reason why we need the money. It's not like everybody's waiting to get paid at the end, number one. And number two, there's been a lot of misconceptions when that $46 million number was thrown around. And even this money, the $7.8 million that we're estimating was by our 2 chiefs with all their expertise, making that list and by all these games, what it's going to cost. And for some reason, I've seen the words money grab get thrown out on things, and they think that the money that we're asking for is strictly for security, number one. Number two, if it's a misconception for anybody, the town, we're going to get what we get for any event at that stadium. Whether it was a concert, there's a special soccer rate per ticket, which we get for any event up there. That's what the town's going to get for hosting that event. And yeah, we may get a little more meals tax or hotel tax, but this is not a moneymaker for this town. In fact, it's probably more of a headache than it's worth. So that's why, it as Bill said, just to stress what needs to be done for us to license it, because this is nothing but more than 7 events up there, and we're gonna get the same money we get for each concert has a special per ticket, a soccer game does. I don't know what the exact dollar per ticket for special soccer is, but, this is, and if World Cup wasn't coming, we'd probably have 7 concerts up there in that time frame, or maybe not 7, a little longer. So something else would be replacing that. So, and probably less headache for our chiefs, because they're used to concerts or, an extra regular soccer game, not World Cup. So this is not a moneymaker for this town. And a lot of people are working really hard, to make it a great event. We want to be a good partners with FIFA, with Boston 26 soccer and the craft organization. We want to be a good partner, but we're not gaining much of anything by hosting this event. And I think people need to know that too.
Yeah.
This is not a lot of money coming into our town. So
I don't want to feel like you're obviously just getting lectured here, but, and I'm sure that's what it does sound like, but again, I think we are doing everything we can to be collaborative on this. And we want nothing more than to be able to just sign on the dotted line and have it signed on the dotted line and know that when the events start, our problems aren't about the money. It's about doing our jobs, the chiefs doing their jobs, and everybody, and it being a successful event. So that's where we are. That's what we're hoping to get to. The 2-week intervals seem to be coming very fast, and we're not making, in our minds, enough progress. So we just say it again. We just need someone to step up here and tell us where it's coming from. So, all right. Do you have anything else that you want to add?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Proposed pedestrian bridge discussion.
You guys get to be the next up. Come on up for a warm and fuzzy reception.
Thank you.
So I'll just kick off. Start, as was mentioned earlier, I think it's Steph who mentioned it, we had a request from the craft group to again apply for the pedestrian bridge funding from the federal government. Obviously, timing is a bit odd because the grant's due next week, so it's not really, it doesn't give us time to resolve.
So for the 3rd time in a row,
Yes.
we get notified a week before.
Well, no, we've known for a little while.
Yeah.
No, we've known,
Okay.
Yeah. So we're not going to shoot the messengers. These are folks from VHB. They do all the hard work to fill out the forms and save me from having to do it. So we can let them
I
talk
was just
about
gonna
it.
say, I mean, we've done it 3 times. Can we copy and paste?
You would think so. You would think so.
That's the plan.
Please give your names and just where.
Yeah, if it's okay, my name's Rich Holworth. I'm with VHB, as Paige mentioned, and we're happy to be here tonight. We really appreciate your time, and we do really appreciate all the hard work that's gone into this effort. For the second occasion, I think, is, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the second. Third might have been a while back, maybe.
Yeah.
I've been involved out there, dating back for more than 2 decades now, so I'm very familiar with the site. And Caitlin Morris is here tonight too, to help answer some questions relating to the application. We certainly appreciate the fact that this is being done under a short time period, and in both instances, we got thrown a little bit of a curveball. Last year, through the change in the administration, they did a whole-scale change in the grant application process that we had to incorporate at the last minute. And this year, the federal government was really late releasing the notice of funding opportunity, which defined kind of the approach that we need to take. I think the good news relative to that particular aspect of it is that it offers us an opportunity to potentially make a better case for the summary. And the town manager's office and others were nice enough to arrange for some work with the USDOT to find out what was good about our application and what we could potentially focus on to improve the application. But if it's okay with you, I was going to give just a brief overview. I think it sounds like you're all very familiar with it, but a brief overview of kind of like the physical improvements that we're anticipating doing. And then we will, and then Caitlin will provide an overview of kind of some of the grant application process and some of the overall project benefits. Sorry, this image is a little bit washed out, but basically what the physical improvements involved associated with the grant application are mostly safety improvements and mobility, connectivity across Route 1 to focus on the opportunity to potentially leverage future development on the opposite side of Route 1, but then obviously do a much better job of accommodating the safety improvements necessary for event day pedestrian traffic. And there's kind of 4 major elements to it. There's one, the most prominent is the pedestrian bridge, which is labeled as number 3 in this image. On number 1 on the image is the mobility hub, which is an area that's going to be devoted to potential everyday bus service that GATRA is considering providing up to the site as an extension of a loop that they currently do to the Plainfield Casino. And then the other elements include security fencing, additional security fencing on the P10 side of the parking area side of the Route 1 to discourage kind of the errant pedestrians that go across Route 1 that are a little bit harder to control on event days, and then also for everyday traffic out there as well. The other more meaningful improvement is some just improvements to the crosswalk along at the Bass Pro Drive intersection with Route 1. So putting in a high visibility crosswalk and just improving that for day-to-day use. There's certainly some traffic that heads down that way on event days, but the hope is that's going to be another improvement that will help the limited amount of pedestrians that use that crossing on an everyday basis. This is just a new image of some minor modifications that we're considering relative to the bridge design. We've really worked hard to try to leverage optimizing the configuration of the ramp system and the approaches to have a pedestrian bridge that not only accommodates the event day traffic, but also integrates into the topography out there. So this particular design takes advantage of the existing pedestrian tunnels under the P10 North and P10 South driveways and essentially becomes like a natural extension of that. So the pedestrian desire lines are much more convenient than in the prior minor design that we had. It's not in essence, it's not a major deviation from what we previously had, but this also offers the opportunity as a much more consolidated footprint, so it's less disruptive to the future development that could occur on the opposite side of Route 1, and then that high demand parking area on the Patriot Place side of the parking lots. It's a tighter footprint for that ramping system. So we worked pretty hard at trying to identify that and took advantage of the time that we did have over the course of the last year to refine the design in that measure as well.
Can you tell me, based on the design, what the anticipated flow can be as far as people going over in a period of time?
We've designed it so we have really good arrival and departure curves associated with we actually went out and did views of the security footage at a bunch of events. So we have the arrival departure curves and, kind of the timing. It always varies a little bit depending upon the weather, who's playing, what the end of the game condition is. We've designed it to accommodate 24,000 pedestrians, which based on the vehicle occupancy rate accommodates the vast majority of that parking on that side of Route 1. And obviously we would want to be continuing to work on whatever updates are necessary to the event day transportation management plan to incorporate the pedestrian bridge into that design and try to corral as many people as we can to limit the crossings, the at-grade crossings. It's still inevitable, I think, at the northerly end where you have a partial grade separated crossing. There'll still be some pedestrians flowing in that area, and there'll still probably be some measure of people crossing down at Bass Pro. But this would really be the workhorse for accommodating. I guess it's about 37% of the occupants of the stadium. So it's really, I think it could be fantastic and, much less disruptive to the traffic out on Route 1, which obviously would be great too, because that whole strategy of trying to divert traffic north and south and it's somewhat impeded by the fact that inevitably you have to close down the roadway for periods of time. Beyond that, we've been through the permitting process before on this. This was identified actually in a 2009 MEPA review process for the former Quarter Point development that was anticipated for the other side of Route 1, but was never materialized, primarily due to market conditions, is my understanding. And then the last year when we made the application, we had advanced the design to 25% design, so we filed that with Mass DOT and then responded to their 25% design comments around the summer of '24 and submitted, the planning board processed it as a minor modification to the original Gillette Stadium site plan approval. So that's kind of where we stand. I mean, it is a lot of work in a consolidated timeframe. I apologize for that. We didn't really have a lot of control over that, but we do really appreciate the work that the town manager's office has been doing. And, you know, I think it's a project that still, you know, has the support of, well, I know it has the support of Mass DOT, the public safety officers, state police. So, you know, it's hopefully something that we have a improved chance of securing the funding this year.
So at a risk of sounding like a broken horse here, but wasn't one of the issues, though, the funding side of it, because obviously a portion of it's grant and a portion of it's, so wasn't it some part of the application also had to be readdressed relative to that? Which
Correct.
Yeah.
Actually,
So that's actually a great segue into,
Yeah.
I'll give you a quick 30-second education on all things federal grants. Apologies in advance for my obnoxious use of acronyms, but that's how DOT does things. So again, the request is to make an application through the Better Utilizing Infrastructure to Leverage Development, or BUILD program. You got to love the folks in Washington who get to make these up. This is the last year of funding for this program under the current Transportation Authorization Bill, called the IIJA, or Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. There is $1.5 billion available this round, unlike last year where 80% of it, 90% of it had been awarded by the outgoing Biden administration, leaving the incoming Trump administration with a whopping $300 million to award. This year, the full $1.5 billion is on the table, will be awarded. There's no kind of tiered application process. And to your point, Chairman Yuckna, there is a 20% non-federal match. We did make a change based on direct feedback from DOT, and Paige was in those calls with us. They were not comfortable with it being secured via a bond or a debt, so it will be coming directly as payment to the town from Foxborough Realty Associates should grant funding be awarded. So it'll be a straight cash match to cover the non-federal match requirement. The request this year, that's another thing as part of the sort of tweaking of the design. We did a lot of value engineering, so we did bring the whole total project cost down. We're dropping it from $35 million to $31.25 million. That's about 11% savings there, which reduces both. So we're still able to apply for $25 million, and the match comes down from $10 million to $6.25. Any questions on any of that?
Yeah, so typically when we do projects, obviously we have, money for the unknowns. Does your budget include that, number one? And number two, how does the unfortunately, we're just seeing building projects skyrocket from a pricing point of view. I mean, I know from a square foot, when we build buildings, we were doing it at 500. Now we're looking at 8 to 1,000.
Sure.
And that's been only in a few years. So is there a concern about when this gets awarded and the timing of and escalation of the cost?
Yeah, so when we develop the project budget, and as part of our benefit cost analysis, which you don't even want to know what that is, that's a lot of fun in a spreadsheet proving that the project's economic benefits exceed its costs. You need to account for exactly what you're saying. So there's a 10% contingency broken up as a 7% contingency and a 3% escalation inflation. The timeline, though, because the project is where it is in terms of local permitting, and because we've been through this once before, puts us in a position to be very shovel-ready as soon as the awards are made. Awards have to be announced by statute no later than June 28th, and we're hoping to be moving within 6 months to execute that grant agreement and be moving forward, which should, to your point, get us to construction sooner and kind of mitigate some of those overruns. And then any additional overruns, can be kind of discussed if it happens. But we feel like 10% is a pretty good number. The feds get a little squirrely if you're over 10%. So, and then, additionally, there's a line item in the budget this year for an OPM to sort of help facilitate. Obviously there's a huge burden associated with not just submitting the application, but then managing the money and going through the procurement and, grant reporting and all of that. So we're hoping that 250 will support all of those costs as well.
Anybody else?
I guess the only question, and I apologize, I stepped away for a minute. So do you feel like the only reason why the grant was denied is mostly because of the funds, because all the funds weren't there. Was there anything else that they didn't like in the design? If I missed that, I'm sorry.
No, so you didn't. It's a
Okay.
great question. You sit through these reviews, and I think Paige can attest, they're sort of a weird existential experience, I'd say. It's people who
Especially
haven't...
You don't know what the language they're speaking, but yeah.
Yeah, you think I'm bad with acronyms. They're way worse. They haven't read your application, so they're reading someone else's opinion of your application, and sometimes the feedback is, pulled out of the ether, for lack of a better word. So they were concerned a little bit last year. Obviously, the match was a big piece. They also were really drilling down on the operating costs to extend bus service and felt like we hadn't adequately accounted for those. We've definitely addressed that this year in our benefit cost analysis. So that's kind of the financial piece of the application. And then the other thing was, well, you guys haven't been awarded a ton of federal money, but they said that wasn't a big deal. So that's another thing that if, now with other federal funds coming in the last year, that's something that we can easily update and kind of improve there. And we feel like we've overcome the really nitpicky obsession with the bus operating costs. So just real quick, what are some of the benefits for this project? Obviously, first and foremost, it's a safety benefit, right? So you're creating a grade separated pedestrian crossing, which obviously moves vehicles and pedestrians, puts them on completely separate planes. So there's almost no opportunity for conflict. And that's obviously important for just everyday safety, but unfortunately, as an unfortunate fact of the world we live in, instances of vehicular terrorism are increasing, kind of every day. And this would sort of mitigate some of the risk there. It also hopefully will reduce some strain on public safety officials who are already out there, working really hard during these events, but maybe not so much needed to move traffic around or to move pedestrians if they're all funneling kind of over a bridge. We also are, fairly confident in our benefit cost analysis includes some modeling and analysis around showing that traffic flows will also increase in the area. So you hopefully won't be sitting in soul-crushing traffic for quite as long on Route 1 during event days. It also has the potential to bring GATRA service on a regular basis instead of just GATRA Go sort of to the town. What they're specifically talking about is extending their existing Route 14 at about half the schedule that it currently operates. So if it operates 14 trips a day, it would be adding 7 here on weekdays and I think 3 on the weekends. And it's also kind of leveraging, and this is something that the current administration is really keen on, a public-private partnership where the source for the non-federal match is coming from a private entity who obviously stands to benefit from the project, but there's a mutual benefit and a partnership between the town and a private sector partner. And like I said earlier, I do want to point out that we did include grant administration support for, oversight of construction and project management as part of the budget for the application.
Good. Is that it?
Any other questions? Yeah, your turn.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Round
That's the one
3.
question I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean,
Third luck's the charm.
Yeah.
Third time's the charm.
And I would just suggest that if you are going to vote in support of this, I mean, you have some of it in there, but, subject to Foxborough Realty Associates covering all legal costs, all costs of grants administration, procurement, facilitation, construction management. The bottom line is there should be no cost to the town of Foxborough, either through monetary or just work. We all know federal grants are challenging. We don't want our finance team to be in charge of this, so we would need all that support by Foxborough Realty Associates so that it really is,
which is the same that we said last time.
yes, we really meant it.
Yeah.
We hear you loud and clear.
Yeah.
Okay, I will do my best.
Okay.
If she can read these scribbles.
Motion to submit application for grant funding of proposed pedestrian bridge and mobility hub to support Gillette Stadium and Patriot Place, subject to Foxborough Realty Associates, subject to
I was a doctor in my
all of the funding covering legal costs of procurement, grant administration, support and construction, to make sure that there is no cost to the town.
Financial or in kind.
Or
type.
in kind.
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sorry.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you very
you.
much for your time.
Thank you.
You can pass that back to her.
So now we have to figure out how to do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm here to be though.
Yeah. Okay, when's it due?
Tuesday by.
Time.
I will say, just another example of how Foxborough continues to work
Of course.
with the stadium to try to get things done.
Oh, maybe we'll do that.
That was a little bit smoother than World Cup.
See what my day looks like tomorrow.
What's next?
Town managers.
I'm next, okay, probably like in the, around 2-ish or something.
Thank you.
I'm up?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. I have notes somewhere. Oh, is that what I just wrote on? Sorry. This is my notes. Gave away my notes. Okay, let's see. Grants. Speaking of grants, we learned from Congressman Auchincloss that Foxborough's first PFAS treatment plant was included in the FY26 community project funding requests. We have an award estimated at somewhere a little over $1 million, so we're thrilled at that. And this is for the first PFAS plant, not the second, so that's great news. We weren't sure if we were going to get this because it had been basically pulled back, but now it's back again. So we're excited for that, and thank you to Congressman Auchincloss for his support. 75 Central Street, which is the former senior center, is still for sale. Proposals are being accepted until 9 a.m. on the 24th, which I believe is a week from today, so next Tuesday, 9 a.m. If you go to the town's procurement website page on our website, you'll see information. You do have to register to get that RFP. With respect to the liquor licenses that we were trying to get for Uptown, we have to get town meeting to approve those. Senator Feeney's office let me know that they learned they can't act on them without town meeting approval, so we have them on the warrant. The strategic plan is underway. The Polco is going to be sending out those surveys probably in the next week or so. As I mentioned previously, 3,500 households will get a standardized survey to start, and then after that, other households can fill in. Bill and I did a third installment of the Common View, so be sure to check out Bill on the Common View on Foxboro Cable Access. You can always watch it on YouTube. If you Google Foxboro Cable Access YouTube, you'll come right up to the channel and find whatever you're looking for. We did speak about World Cup, just our regular update. The executed license is still due March 17th. That means we have 2 meetings, well, including the 17th. The Land Use Department continues to work on site plan issues. Stadium Advisory Committee is meeting on February 26th. We have a meeting tomorrow morning with the Governor's Office and MassDOT and other state officials. And then just our regular reminder about short-term rentals and the rental of parking spaces that our zoning prohibits. There's a Capital Improvement Planning Committee meeting scheduled for Saturday, March 7th at 8:30 a.m. on Zoom. Hope to see you all there. Fox News is going to come, Fox 25 News is going to do a zip trip in Foxborough on April 24th, the Common. Don't forget to sign up for the Fox Alerts. And then we have 2 positions open right now, a DPW Department Coordinator and Firefighter Paramedic. And lastly, there is still some construction going on over by the 95 on and off ramps. And you might see the right-hand lane closed. That's all I have.
You have the Easter egg hunt? Was that?
Oh, is that me?
It was on your list.
Oh, yeah, I didn't put it there.
Okay.
Katie. Oh, yeah. What's my Easter egg thing?
Just
there's
said
an
approved
Easter
to be
egg?
held and approval for us.
Yeah. Let's see.
Town Common, March 28th, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Thank you.
J.C.'s is sponsoring it. Oh, wait, no, and J.C.'s Spring Vendor Fair will be held on the Town Common on May 2nd, 2026, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. with a rain date of May 3rd, 2026.
Perfect.
How's that?
Nice.
I gotta remember to add those to my reports.
Selectmen's update, I think Amy had a few things that she wanted to.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up that Paul Godin had passed away last week. I think everybody knows who he is. He's Mr. Smiley. I took the time to sort of like pick a few things that he had done in town. First and foremost, he's an Army veteran who'd served during the Korean War, longtime volunteer with the with the board, and is a board member, or was a board member of Foxboro Cable Access, active member of St. Mary's, serenading seniors, volunteered at the Foxborough Farm Stand. He was also a knight with the Knights of Columbus, also a member of the Foxborough Historical Society. He's going to be greatly missed in our community, and I just wanted to take an opportunity to send well wishes and our thoughts to his family.
Thank you. That's great.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, I was just going to say, oh,
I don't think I do.
Okay.
oh, I thought you were just generally saying anything else.
Sorry.
I was looking down, I wasn't looking which way you were looking. Just wanted to say thank you to the Patriots for an interesting season. I don't think anyone knew we were going to get there. Of course, the outcome of the Super Bowl wasn't what we hoped, but you can't win them all. So, you know, it was a fun season to watch that team after a couple of miserable seasons. So I think most people in town enjoyed that. And also a shout out to, again, to Paul for the farmer for those signs. Unfortunately, I was away. I didn't get a chance to see the signs, but I did see them on Facebook. And he's always so kind when we're lucky enough to be going to a Super Bowl, to really put some interesting signs up there. And so, you know, thanks, Paul, for, and like I saw lots of pictures of people on Facebook going up and you know, taking pictures with the signs and stuff. So thanks, Paul, for always being good to the town. I'm not sure if they're supposed to be on the common, but
Don't ask, don't tell.
that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, come on, it's only for a couple of days. I know they're not supposed to be there, but.
Don't ask.
Yeah, that's right, don't ask, don't tell, right? Okay, so, thanks,
I
Paul.
didn't see any signs when I was walking
Okay.
through the common.
What signs?
Okay. Doc, anything on your side?
No, I'm all set, thank you.
And I'm fine. Go through the action items.
It's the Craft and Sports Entertainment Group for the Brazil versus France.
Okay.
Excuse me.
So this is the game that's coming up in March. Chief, are we all set? Have you been able to resolve all the issues around this one?
Real briefly, I would just recommend we hold that one for another date. Still working through with the promoter some of the logistics.
Okay. So we'll have no action?
No action, please.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Okay. Motion to approve the Craft Sports and Entertainment Group additional data sheet for the 2026 New England Revolution home games, including potential playoff games, international matches, as well as select Revs 2 matches, including potential home playoff games, March 7th, 15th, April 4th, 11th, and 18th, 2026, with kickoffs to be determined and shared with public safety officials as soon as announced.
Second.
Is the international matches, has that been in that request in the past? Are they adding that this year?
I believe they always have the language in there for international and then playoff games, but I can double check.
Okay. All right, so there's a motion and a second?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve the Craft Sports and Entertainment Group additional data sheet for the 2026 Boston Legacy Games on March 14th at 12:30 p.m., March 28th at noon, and April 3rd at 8 p.m., 2026.
Second.
Wait, okay. Chief, are we all set on those as far as, okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve a change of hours application for Big Night Venues, Foxborough LLC, doing business as the Scorpion Bar and Mexican Cantina located at 253 Patriot Place to serve alcohol starting at 10 a.m. on Sundays.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion to authorize the town manager on behalf of the select board to notify the chair of the Republican and Democrat town committee that they shall submit to the Board of Registers, the town clerk's office, prior to June 1st, a list of party members who wish to be appointed election workers.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to appoint Robert Cutler as the burial agent.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Didn't even know he had that.
Motion to appoint Michael Eisenhower as the gas inspector.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to appoint Michael Eisenhower as the plumbing inspector.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to appoint Paul Steves as the Assistant Gas Inspector.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None?
Motion to appoint Paul Steves as the Assistant Plumbing Inspector.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to appoint Jack Lee as the Assistant Gas Inspector.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to appoint Jack Lee as the Assistant Plumbing Inspector.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to appoint Sean Wills as the Wiring Inspector.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to appoint Randy Butt as the Assistant Wiring Inspector.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to appoint William Cook Jr. as the Assistant Wiring Inspector.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve Select Board meeting minutes from January 3rd, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to accept.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Deb's all in.
Good evening.
Good night.